announcement.
All right, let's bring in Tony Blinken. He was in the State Department for the Obama administration. We are assuming, Tony, that this is going to be an easy move because Pompeo is already comfortable with the president and vice versa. But going from the CIA to Foggy Bottom is not exactly the same type of portfolio. What will the transition require?
Well, I think Chris, he's been doing this transition for the past several months because we were pretty much told at the end of last year that this change was going to happen and Pompeo was going to be the guy. And there were reports that he was preparing the way, talking to a lot of people, getting himself ready. I think what's going to be very different is the public-facing aspect of this. He has to be no longer the spy in chief, but the diplomat in chief. But Pompeo, I think, is reasonably well prepared for this. He had a lot of time in Congress, of course, before taking on the CIA job. And the president gets someone who is closer to his own views and beliefs on virtually every issue. Rex Tillerson was on the out the president. He wanted to stay in the Paris Climate Accord. He wanted to stay in the Trans-Pacific Partnership. He wanted to, avoid a meltdown between Saudi Arabia and Qatar. He wanted to stick with the Iran nuclear deal. Right. So time and again, he was on the other side of the fence. I think now the president gets someone who is much more in line with his own thinking.
It's interesting, David Chalian, we're just getting some reporting here in the House that on Friday, the president had approached Tillerson about this. Why then today did we wind up hearing about this? And obviously it steps on his trip out to California. This couldn't have been the way they planned it.
Yeah, the timing to me, Chris, as I was just saying, I think is a bit odd here, and I wonder if indeed we'll learn a little more. It seems to me the president was quite eager to make this trip to California. Again, several issues there. The ICE issue, sanctuary city, building the wall, looking at prototypes. These are some wheelhouse sort of base Trump issues that he loves being able to highlight. He's making what is, the longest time we've had a president in office without going to visit the most populous state. 1 out of every 7 Americans or so lives in California. He's finally making that trip to highlight these issues. I am surprised he's willing to step on himself with this kind of message, but as I mentioned, there are a couple other, stories dominating the headlines. Stormy Daniels and a potential embarrassing loss in Pennsylvania in a congressional race. And perhaps that is why he wanted to sort of move ahead with this other big headline of the day by making public this desire to shake up his national security team.
All right, Abby, thank you very much. We'll know you'll be reporting all morning on this. David Chalian, thank you. And Tony Blinken, thank you for calling in. Appreciate the perspective.
Thanks, Chris.
Never a dull